There's an old phrase that goes, the best camera is the camera that you have. So if we all have these smartphone cameras with us at all times, why are so many people obsessed with digicams? On the surface level, it just seems like another trend that cool people are doing to be cool. An easy, cheap way to increase your aura. Is it really that shallow, or is there something else to it? Well, lucky for you, we're gonna find out. So me, myself, I have a lot of cameras, but the one that I used the most over the past year is this little guy right here. This is the Sony DSC-TX30. Might be my favorite camera at this point. I'll talk more about the specifics of why it's my favorite later on. I've taken it with me everywhere, even underwater, which turned out to not be a great idea. So these late 90s and early 2000s digicams have been making a resurgence. In this video, I want to explore, unpack, dissect the real reason why people are suddenly using old digicams again. Before we dive fully into this story, I think it's important to kind of define what a digicam is. So like this camera right here is a digital camera, but it's not a digicam. One of the most important aspects of a digicam is that it's small, it's pocket-sized, and it's compact. There's not a bunch of fancy settings. There's not a different lens you can use. There's no AI intervention. It's just a camera. I thrifted my first digicam around 2021. Like everybody else, I thought, oh, I'm gonna get one of these because it's cool, and the cool people that I follow online are using digicams. Used it for a few years and didn't think that I would use it as much as I did. It was something different than using a really big camera like this, and it was a little bit more deliberate than just using my phone. In 2024, I traveled more than I ever have, and most of the time I left my big cameras at home and only packed this guy. I went to Yosemite and only brought my digicam and phone. Phone because it's, everything, but the digicam was the main thing that I took photos with. And look at this quality in comparison, especially the audio. Like, it's a worse camera, but why are so many people using them?
It's a video.
Of course, the final product from all of these cameras matters a lot, what the photos look like, right? And yeah, without a doubt, there is an aesthetic difference to the photos that were taken on the digicam, but I think what it's like actually using the cameras matters a lot more to the everyday person than we realize. I saw a tweet that was like, tech used to be fun, and maybe it was actually this YouTube video. Close enough. There is some underlying fun that I think digicams also have, in the same way that you take a film photo and you don't immediately get to see it or know if it turned out or not. There is an element of kind of rolling the dice with these things, that you take the photo and you kind of just gotta hope that it turns out, because there's no AI intervention. Yes, they're fun. Yes, they're cool. But the thing that I landed on that keeps me using a digicam now is the fact that it's just simple. It's simple to use, and it's also simple in the fact that it's a single-use device. And what I mean by that is it is one device. It's the size of basically my wallet, and it kind of only does one thing. It takes photos, takes videos, and that's it. It doesn't have TikTok on here. It doesn't have Instagram. And this thing, our phones, is like that's the exact opposite of a single-use device. It's an everything device, Another great perk of digicams is that you can bring them into concerts, stadiums, events, no questions asked. It's so small that people don't even really notice that you have it. Whether you're an average Joe or somebody that's really into photography, I think that having and using a digicam is a great way to capture and preserve memories in a different way, because we're all going to have thousands of photos taken on our phones that we never look at ever again. So let's say you've watched the video up to this point and you're like, okay, I want to buy a digicam. And first of all, maybe you don't even have to buy it. I would ask family members, somebody in your familial circle probably has a digicam sitting in a drawer that they haven't used in so long. So start there, then go to thrift stores, look around there, If you can't find one there, then I would say as a last resort, go to a place like eBay. But I would advise against it because like this thing is going for around $200. I will be totally honest with you, like don't spend that much money on a digicam. I don't know how much money you guys have, but that doesn't seem worth it to me. I would say the only thing that you really need to be certain of is that it has a flash, because if it does not have a flash, then it won't work in low light and just like the photos will be basically unusable. How is this 10-year-old plus camera my favorite? So this is the Sony DSC TX30, and this digicam in particular is very special. It takes 18 megapixel photos, has a nice, I think it's a 10x zoom, but it's a good zoom, has a flash, and takes like pretty bad videos, but the video at least has like a cool texture to it. Audio is also horrible. Much like a disposable camera, when you take a photo, it burns the date into the bottom right corner, which is a little touch that I really like. It's got this awesome calendar view for organizing your photos by day, so it's a great way to look back. To the point of it being more fun, I mean, just look at how fun these different color schemes are. In the age of everything being touchscreen, it's nice to have a physical part that you actually move. Like you think back to having a flip phone, when you ended a phone call and were able to hang up on somebody by closing your phone, like that was satisfying. Quick, brief interruption to say, please subscribe. I'm almost at 100K, and I've been almost at 100K for a long time. I know that I said my most used camera over the past year was this digicam, but that's actually a little bit of a lie, because if you look strictly at number of photos taken, this thing was used like so much more. I would argue that yes, your smartphone takes photos, but it's not a camera because it's just so many other things. It's, you know, this portal into all of the world's information, and it's this device that, you know, you can suddenly spend 6 hours a day on and just be like, what's my life? Basically what I'm trying to say is that it's really nice that this thing only takes photos. It doesn't do everything. You know, you can't check your banking app from your digicam. Turns out that if you have access to all of the world's information, it's not great for you, you know? And it's a smartphone, but it makes you dumb. Huh? To put it in 2 words, digicams are just good vibes. And if somehow you haven't heard the story of how I got this digicam, I bought it for $5 at a thrift store, and the SD card was full of over 1,700 photos. I made this video about it. And by the way, update on this video and just kind of a few things that I can add is that in December, I went back down to Florida and was actually able to meet up with Tom and Kathy, who are the people that owned this camera before me. And we had coffee, got to talk for almost an hour. And they're really great people, and that, if you haven't watched that video, like, you should definitely go watch it. By the way, if you have not been to Yosemite, go.